Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Winback, and on today's episode of RPG Radio, we're going to be playing Diablo 3. The reason for this is that Diablo 4 is just around the corner, and I have a long and storied history with this game, up until the point that Grim Dawn took my focus, and I haven't been able to give it as much attention as it maybe deserves. So with all that out of the way, let's talk Diablo. Now, Diablo 3 is an isometric action RPG. Just like everybody knows, it's been out for 10 years. There's nothing that I can tell you about this game that you can't find in some other video, some other place on YouTube better. But as it stands right now, Diablo 3 still deserves some pretty big attention because the latest season, the final season for Diablo 3, Season 28, makes a whole lot of good on everything that made Diablo 3 fun for the past several years. If you weren't aware, the Season 28 gimmick, I guess we could call it, is that the Altar of Rites, this big old stone tablet table thing in Act 1 town of New Tristram, gives you a whole bunch of game-breaking mechanics, making leveling really easy, and gives you a ton of materials as long as you're able to sacrifice rarer and rarer materials to the altar to gain those buffs. So, as it stands right now, we are in Torment 13. I'm playing a Crusader for this season because Crusader and Barbarian were my absolute favorite throughout Diablo 3, with a little bit of dabbling in the Witch Doctor right behind that. I really love the Witch Doctor, but ultimately it was just not as much in the fantasy as the Crusader and the Barbarian were, so I had to decide. I played Barbarian last season, I'm gonna play Crusader this season, and that's what we went for. Sadly, Witch Doctor isn't coming back as far as we know for Diablo 4, so hopefully with some expansion down the line I'll get that, but oof. I'll keep my fingers crossed. My Witch Doctor class is definitely, it's got some nostalgia there for me. Spitting zombie bears into the butcher's face until he exploded in a matter of 2.3 seconds was one of the most fun memories I had of Diablo 3 when it released. Been a fantastic ride ever since then. So let's talk about what's going on in this video, what's going on in this channel for Diablo 3 and 4 coming up. Most importantly, and probably most shortly, I am getting into, with a lot of other people I'm sure, into the Diablo 4 open beta and the early access, I think they're calling it, for the game. I pre-ordered it, I did the whole shebang. I definitely know I'm going to be playing Diablo 4 for the vast majority of 2023 and onward. And as long as they continue to update it after all of their plans go into effect, you can probably guarantee that I'm going to be doing it for just as long as I played Diablo 3, which is, what, 10 years. Unless something else, you know, Grim Dawn 2 comes out after this one and makes a whole lot of changes. But who knows? Diablo 4 hasn't even released yet. We can't even play it yet. But as far as the beta is concerned, we're going to be able to get up to level 25, play all the way through Act 1, and take on the big world boss for Act 1. And it's looking like it's going to be an extremely fun time. Especially with the new PC, we should be able to play it on, if not max, near max settings, and get everything as pretty as possible. But that's enough of Diablo 4. Keep an eye out for those videos. They're coming in the next couple weeks. I'll get as much footage as I can from the beta with as many classes as I can, even though I can guarantee you the Barbarian will be my #1 favorite, followed closely by the Druid, and there you go. I mean, set your calendars, you know what to look for. But in Diablo 3 right now, we're just farming greater rifts at the moment because at the current tier on the Altar of Rites that I'm at, I do not have the, I think it's, I need blood shards, and I need Greater Rift keystones and Ramalodni's gift, which is the consumable that you dump into your weapon to give it a socket. Up to this point, I've been playing the game with a few friends on and off. I've been playing solo some as well, but the set that we're currently rocking with our Crusader is the Thorns of the Invoker. Thorns of the Invoker gives a whole lot of damage to your primary skills? That's what they're called. I think that might be the same for everybody. Anyway, the primary skills that the set beefs up are your slash and punish, and I actually have a couple modifiers in this build that make both slash or punish very, very good. So I could either opt for punish and get all the runes activated on it, or I can go for slash, which will get the slash in all directions. I've got the Omni Slash belt, I think it is, and that alone makes me just a walking melee AoE hurricane, which is why you're seeing me walking everything and then it just explodes after one slap, whether it's in front, behind, left, or right of me. That's how the set works and how the Omni Slash is, buffing it up super hard. Now, all things considered, I started off with the season set for the Crusader, which is ridiculous amounts of fun, but in no way feels like the Crusader fantasy, because it's all about Fist of the Heavens. It is a very ranged focus, and typically when I'm playing big beefy characters, I want to use a melee weapon. I want to walk forward and whack things, and that just wasn't what was happening with the Imperious set. I can't remember what it's called. It doesn't even have a set dungeon that I could do, which is a little bit sad, but all things considered, it's still a really cool set. I still really like raining lightning down for entire periods of time in so many dungeons. Turns out, I think we hit like Torment. At about Torment 12, it stopped being as effective because the enemies I was hitting with it were not dying fast enough, and I was actually dying very, very quickly. The good news about the Thorn set is that we have a lot of defenses built in there to help live longer, and yeah, I just get to live that tanky melee fantasy that I always wanted playing the Crusader. So to give a little bit more context, the Invoker set, basically when you have two pieces of the set, your Thorns damage is going to hit all enemies in a 15-yard radius around you, and each time you hit an enemy with Punish, Slash, or a block, your Thorns is increased by 90% for 2 seconds. It's going to stack up to 10 times. So that's 900% damage just with 2 pieces of the set. With a 4 set, you get 50% less damage after damaging an enemy with Bombardment, and for the 6 set, the attack speed of Punish and Slash double, as well as deal 67,500% of your Thorns damage. So couple that with the fact that we have got the gem, I think Boyarsky's chip. That is correct. Boyarsky's chip doing the additional 36,000 Thorns, and since it's ranked 25 at least, it's got taunt on the first enemies that we whack with our primary skills. So it's really easy to find Thorn type items, and to be honest with you, this is the first season that I've ever really played the Thorns of the Invoker set. There's been a couple where it's been the premier set for Diablo 3, but I either didn't play those seasons or I didn't play a Crusader, and to be honest with you, I really like it. I like this set a lot, and I probably should have been playing it way earlier than I am right now. But all that considered, there are other items like the Heart of Iron, which is going to give you Thorns equal to a percentage of your vitality, typically a very high percentage. And then we've got things like let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. The armory is so full. just brimming with builds. There's so many sets. Diablo 3 is inevitably all about building multiple sets for your character to do different things. Sometimes you want to go burn through greater rifts, so you'll want like your highest DPS set that does whatever specific greater rift thing you're looking for, or maybe you want a set that farms specific materials that you need to do. When you're playing solo in Diablo 3 these days, you can put specific sets on your followers to farm different materials like Death's Breath or I can't think of the other stuff at the moment, but it basically you put it on your follower, it emanates, and you get your bonuses without having to dump all of that crap on your character and miss out on full set bonuses. But anyway, so as far as the rest of the build goes, we're using how do you even say that? Votoya's Spiker? It's a shield. It's an octopus-looking shield. It's fantastic. Enemies that get hit by our provoke, which is on our right click, are going to take double damage from our thorns, and considering that they are buffed up by about 67,000 as it is, that is a pretty considerable chunk of damage. We've also got Justice Lantern equipped as a ring. A lot of this stuff, I'm not really sure if it is going to be permanent. Unfortunately, with Diablo 3, I never made it to the absolute pinnacle of play with this game, so it's kind of hard to decide if all of this stuff is going to stay. And I doubt it will, because a lot of it has to be re-rolled. We have to re-roll different affixes. No, not affixes. I'm thinking of Lassie Bar. We have to re-roll different properties on the items, because they have to buff specific Crusader things. They have to buff strength, or they have to buff skills that we're using. They have to buff a lot of stuff. So the big important stuff I'm using is going to be, number one, the Invoker set. Heart of Iron couples incredibly well with that. The Spiker shield obviously couples incredibly well with that. But, oh right, and the Omni Slash belt. But there are also things that we broke off into the cube that are really important too. Number one being the, it's the bombardment buffs. So basically the Invoker set, you take 50% less damage when enemies get hit with bombardment, and this specific item that I broke down, that's it. The Mortal Drama is a big two-handed mace for the Crusader class, and it doubles the number of bombardment impacts that happen. So basically a longer amount of time that the bombardment goes out, and the belt that we broke down and stuck in the Kanai's cube is also going to call down a bombardment every 4 seconds on a random enemy. So basically, while bombardment is dealing a ton of extra damage, it's also giving me 50% reduced damage from enemies all the time, pretty much constantly. That doesn't mean a whole lot once we're getting up to Torment 16, which is like really the wall for a lot of characters and builds and such. But as it stands right now, this is what's keeping me alive, unlike the Imperious set. Oh god, it's something Valor. Aegis of Valor. So the Aegis of Valor set is super squishy, whereas the Thorns of the Invoker is really tanky, and basically permanently that way. So, with all that being said, though, I mean, those are some of the more important parts of the build. Gem-wise, we've got the Bane of the Powerful, which is just dealing increased damage after killing an elite pack, and then we get 15% increased damage versus elite, and take 15% less because it got it over rank 25. Justice Lantern is the ring that it's equipped in. Esoteric Alteration is the gem. That's giving me that 25% non-physical damage reduction, and while we're below 50% life, our resistances to all the elements except holy. No, I mean, none of the enemies are going to do holy damage, are they? Weird! They're increased by 75%. And then there's Boyarski's chip, like I mentioned earlier, giving us a whole bunch of thorns damage. This is a fun build. I definitely enjoy it, but it is starting to see some wear. I had a friend try to take me up to, I don't know, like Greater Rift 90, 95, and I was getting one tapped. So really not a fan of that. Right now, I think we're only on Greater Rift, what is that, 65? I can safely get up to like 80 without dying, but I'm not going to be able to kill anything, so the trade-off is obviously there. I need to do a lot more fine-tuning in the build to get the damage where it needs to be in order to really hang at those levels of rifting. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be some weapon changes, probably some shield changing. No, not shield changing. Weapon changing, ring changing, amulet changing, that sort of stuff for this build still. Unless I can start rolling some ancients. Oh. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of talking out of my ass here about my build because that's just kind of what I'm used to. But at the same time, there is an Echoing Nightmare going on the screen. Echoing Nightmare is it is a material that will drop randomly in the higher difficulties. You throw it into Kanai's cube, and you basically get this horde mode from your Echoing Nightmare. Enemies are going to try to chase you down. Some of them are going to explode when they die in the big fiery explosion that you can see on the screen already. There are 4 shrines on each of the Echoing Nightmare corners, and you'll pull those when you absolutely need them towards the later stages of the Echoing Nightmare's timer. Basically, the longer that you last, the better the gear reward is going to be, and it is going to be even more difficult to survive the longer things go. So the good news is we've got our handy steed charge, our faithful steed, able to get us out of all the scary fire damage if we actually get stuck in things. We still deal a ridiculous amount of damage, but unfortunately, since it's mostly melee damage, going up to whack people in the Echoing Nightmare is very difficult because of how many just explodey circles are just all over the ground. Now, I could probably circumvent that with there's a specific amulet or a ring, I think, that eats all of this damage, but I haven't tested that, and the people that I've asked don't know either. So if you know, let me know in the comments below so I can maybe do some testing. Maybe I just test it anyway. Maybe that's the whole point of testing. Why am I asking you to do work for me? I'm a human being with a keyboard and a mouse and a computer. I better do it myself. Man, it's nice when the horse gets you out of certain death. Or maybe just a tiny corner that you can hide in, right? That's great. Anyway, Echoing Nightmare aside, again, I'm still kind of like just talking out of nowhere. I'm not the premier Diablo 3 content creator, sadly, because I've been playing other games in the meantime for so long. When I really thought about making content for this game, the YouTube field was already so saturated that there was just no room to break into it. But with Diablo 4 coming up soon, I'm just going to start playing that game a lot, devoting a lot of time to that, just like I've done with Grim Dawn. Those videos will stick around on the channel. It's not like Grim Dawn's going anywhere. And with the lore series taking focus as it is, we've probably got a lot to talk about. Ooh, sorry I'm getting a little bit rambly with this video, apologies, but it is the first Diablo 3 video that I've actually done with any confidence on this channel, so there you have it. I'll kind of lay out some plans. These will be coming throughout the next couple months until Diablo 4 releases, and obviously Diablo 4 will take over there. We'll have the Diablo 4 early access and open beta footage coming too. We'll be playing, like I said, Barbarian all the way down, but we'll play the other classes too just to see what they're all about. Anyway, as far as Diablo 3 is concerned, this is still really early on in the endgame grind for Diablo, so we'll probably try to just push it as far as possible, get as much as possible done, and see how hard in the Greater Rift category we can get whatever build we're doing at that moment, at that time. So that's just kind of the focus of Diablo 3 over the next couple of months, and you'll see plenty of this in between where I just talk about, oh, I don't know, every little thing under the sun. Diablo 4 obviously has a whole lot of really good stuff coming, so that's one thing that we might mention while we're doing these Diablo 3 videos, but yeah. They basically put Diablo 3 to bed with the announcement of Diablo 4, and this should be the final season that any changes happen for the game, so it'll be a good send-off, I think. Anyway, there's the end of the Echoing Nightmare as well, the build coming to a close in its infancy. We're still grinding out some gear, looking for the best drops, looking for as many Ancients as possible. Gotta upgrade a lot of those into Primal Ancients soon, but being that we are the big beefy Crusader lady of everyone's dreams, there's only so much we can do. I really hope this goes the way that I want it to. To be honest with you, I never had the patience to push a build as far as possible in Diablo 3 just because I wanted to keep making characters, and it's, you know, it's fine. But Grim Dawn made that easier, so. Anyway, see you later, guys. Peace out.